Here's something I call two trains running. Aside from its many beneficial qualities, the Dharma, or practicing Dharma, is also a good hedge against aging, meaning at some point we ought to prepare for the inevitable, at least a little bit, right? I mean, what's your plan? There's no doubt that at some point each of us is going to plunge headlong into death, and whatever afterlife awaits us, and with perhaps a moment's notice, that most folks do. However, I find that whatever of time's evils that we've managed to keep at arm's length earlier in life, with age, they all begin to converge like the vanishing point in the architect's perspective. You know, everything converges on us, and the constriction gets tighter and tighter. If you're any different, I'd like to hear about it. At some point, I figured out that not only must the show go on, but that eventually it's going to go on without me. And I have to ask myself how much I want to continue to invest in this impermanence and why. Hopefully not just to save face or for how it might look socially. We all know the line, like trying to rearrange the deck chairs on the Titanic, end quote. And that seems to be an exercise in futility. So, Dharma, if we're interested, which may pop into our mind earlier in life, like for a spot of tea, returns much more gravely later in life as an actual alternative to the ongoing freight train of aging life. It occurs that we might want to step off that train at some station along the way, but what then? The Dharma has been trying to flag me down and get my attention, well, probably since I was in my late teens, and occasionally with some success. Yet I still found it pretty hard to get serious about Dharma when I was young, because life was just so interesting, so rich, so inviting. So I discovered that same invitingness, that same invitation, gradually expires with age, leaving us increasingly exposed to impermanence, and always just a little bit farther down the track. And you know the old song, remember that song, Another Day Older and Deeper in Debt? I mean, that's, I think it was 16 tons. For many of us, there is a time when we actually step to the side. We step out of the rush of life and start to let those who are in the passing lane just go around us. And we become ourselves kind of like an island in the river of life, but an island that itself is also floating downstream, but perhaps a little less eager than before. I love the story of the great Siddha, Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche, when he started a Dharma talk to a group with these words, and I quote, "Some of us will die soon, the rest a little later," end quote. That kind of talk gets our attention, but for how long and to what end? And what are we going to do about it? Now, I know there's plenty of fire and brimstone from the world's religions, that potentially can put the fear of God in us. But that fear pales by comparison to the realizations that gradually dawn on us with the simple advancement of age. and we can produce those all by ourselves. As an astrologer who has counseled folks for many years, I can tell you straight up that aside from sheer curiosity, the majority of people never sought out an astrological reading unless they were in one crisis or another. So we put off the inevitable for as long as we can, or as I like to say to myself, we agree to forget what we find so hard to remember. And I don't want to seem too negative. Although I might sound here like I'm playing in a minor key, it's not just for effect. It's not my intention to put a scare into you. Instead, I thought it might actually be good to talk with you about what we can do to prepare for the inevitable, since it is, well, inevitable. In our physical life that we're living, when faced with adversity, we need to take out some insurance. In our spiritual life, a little insurance is also a good thing. And the only insurance that I've found in life so far is the Dharma. A line that I coined for myself is, quote, "The straighter the line, the finer the curve," end quote. If life in samsara is an endless linear progression that also goes in eventual circles or cycles, then it will continue long after we are gone. The question I have had for myself is, at what point do I want to step away from the circus train, which in my better moments I know is just an endless show, and take a somewhat different tack? Shall I wait until I'm at death's door and then just, take what comes? Or in the meantime, is there something that I can do by way of developing some awareness of these eventualities? For myself, I've chosen the second route, the path of Dharma and its awareness. And the only approach that I've found that works is the path to greater and greater realization. First awareness and then realization. The cataracts of advancing age will eventually physically dim down whatever light we have now. The Dharma realization, in Dharma, what's called the realization of the nature of the mind, it comes with what's called insight meditation, kind of breaks rank with time and puts time itself in perspective. There is something that is beyond, the suffering of time. And what I'm suggesting here is that it would be good if the pace of our Dharma realization could keep up with the inevitable process of physical erosion by old age, by growing older. As the hand of time takes away, the light of realization reinstates something of much greater clarity, which would be recognition of the nature of the mind itself. So, in my opinion, this greater realization is meant to accompany, the aging process. Don't leave this life without it, that idea. And as my first Dharma teacher would say to me many, many times, Michael, we have to choose between being the cling peach or the freestone. But the first, our flesh is literally torn from the pit, while with the freestone peach, it just naturally pops out. Not sure whether you can see the beauty of this metaphor, but I sure did when it was first presented to me. And the amount of Dharma practice needed to help here is very doable. But it does take enough time before the end of the line in order to prepare properly. So I can see why some readers might find this kind of preparation gloomy or a bother. So I don't expect everyone to practice Dharma. This leaves the few of you who grasp what I'm saying here and have the time and interest to do the necessary groundwork.